That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are back once again. JV Wins and Dogon SS here for another edition of Conscious Approach on YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Leaving a comment, hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel. Thank you very much for your digital patronage as we continue to carve out this fancy little corner of ours on the internet. Before we get things kicked off, a couple of house cleaning things to take care of. As always, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify if you want to check out the podcast version of all of our live streams. Thank you very much for affording us your digital currency because it indicates that you perceive value in our content, which is the highest form of flattery. Also, check us out on Instagram and TikTok at Conapproach, CONAPPROACH. Now, sir, to you, the moratorium has begun on your hurricanes. Do you want to speak on it now or do you want to wait till the end? It's up to you.
I mean, I can just go ahead and say something real quick because as you guys see, I am dressed in my hurricane garb from head to toe, actually. And honestly, I just would like to say, yeah, it was a great season. We showed up. We played hard. We played tough. Just Carson Beck doing Carson Beck things right there at the end of the game. But nevertheless, still proud of my guys. Still repping the Hurricanes for life. So, just want to go ahead and say that. And go Canes, man, as always, dog.
Hell yeah, man. Who knows how that game turns out if not for a block punt? That's really what turned things around.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm a Florida State Seminole, of course, but with respect to games like last night, it wouldn't have killed me to see the Hurricanes win. So it is what it is, man. But program does look like it's finally on the up and up. So let's see what you guys do next year because I might be rooting for the Canes next year by proxy again.
Hey man, it's all good, dog. We'll welcome you, dog. We'll welcome
you. For the second year in a row. But with that out of the way, man, we have several interesting topics to talk about tonight. We're going to go ahead and get things kicked off with a little beef between Don Lemon and Nicki Minaj. Neither one of these individuals are friends of the channel, but they're both fastly approaching those distinctions. Mm-hmm. We've mentioned Don Lemon, I think, one other time before. Nicki Minaj maybe once or twice. So, once you hit 3-4 different times that we've referenced you for topics on the channel, you've officially crossed that threshold into friend of the channel territory. But Don Lemon is clapping back at Nicki Minaj after Nicki Minaj clapped at Don Lemon for his reporting of an ICE protest in front of a Minnesota church. For whatever reason, Nicki Minaj took exception to Don Lemon's reporting on this thing. For those of you who are unaware, lately Nicki Minaj has done a bit of an about face, and she has gone full board in her support of the Donald Trump administration and just MAGA politics in general. Seems odd and off-putting to a lot of people given her objection to that very same administration in the not too distant past. But she's completely flipped on that, and she is now fully on board. She's a Trump supporter. She calls Donald Trump an assassin in a complimentary fashion. She says J.D. Vance is handsome and dashing. She attends Turning Point USA speaking panels at national conference events to speak glowingly about MAGA Republicans and the Donald Trump administration, so on and so forth. This is not me editorializing the administration myself. I'm just stating facts. This is what's been going on. And so Don Lemon, who I don't think it's a stretch to say is anti all of that, he was doing some reporting over ICE protests in Minnesota because they had the whole incident with an ICE agent, unfortunately unaliving a woman in her car. And so there's a lot of people protesting in Minnesota over the situation. Don Lemon goes to report on this, and Nicki Minaj unmutes to call him out his name. And so now Don Lemon has clapped back on that, suggesting that in light of what she's been saying and her hate speech and given who it is that she supports and what her status is, in fact, she should probably be deported. So we'll go ahead and get into this real quick so that we can provide some context for folks who haven't gotten themselves caught up on this particular story. So this says Don Lemon responds to Nicki Minaj's disgusting homophobic slur, says she should be deported. Don Lemon did not mince words when responding to Nicki Minaj hurling a homophobic slur his way over his coverage of an anti-ICE protest at a church in St. Paul, Minnesota. In an interview with TMZ, the former CNN anchor, who is openly gay and married his longtime partner Tim Malone in 2024, ripped into the singer, who recently made it clear she supports the Trump administration. So I'm going to skip that because we're going to play some video. He alleged that Minaj has shown her disdain for African Americans and questioned why people continue to support her, despite her worrying embrace of far right rhetoric. Lemon also highlighted that Minaj is married to Kenneth Petty, who was convicted of rape in 1995 and is a registered sex offender. I don't think you get demonetized for saying sex offender, but we'll find out. Lemon could also be referring to her brother here. In 2022, Minaj's brother, Jelani Mirage, was sentenced to 25 years to life after he was found guilty of graping an 11-year-old per USA Today. Minaj appeared furious on X, formerly Twitter, after footage of Lemon covering a church protest in St. Paul went viral. Don cocksucking Lemon is disgusting, she wrote in all caps alongside a picture showing Chucky from the Child's Play series. How dare you? I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up. Lemon reported from the city's church in St. Paul, Minnesota on January 18th, where tensions are high following the fatal shooting of Renee Good earlier this month. In the live stream, he followed the protesters as they went to the church to protest the presence of David Easterwood, the acting field office director for ICE in St. Paul. After clips from the protest went viral, Lemon wanted to clear the air on the fake right-wing propaganda about his reporting, which he claimed accused him of leading the protest. He has stressed that he had no ties to the organization that did the protest and was just there to report on the situation and speak to the people involved. So here's Mr. Lemon and his retort to Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj and her response to all of this and the language that she used. I think it's interesting just because Nicki has been, over the last couple of months, made it clear that she is now publicly supporting, and I think maybe she has all along, but now publicly making known her support for the Trump administration and even the MAGA movement. The choice of words that she used to go after you, I'm not surprised she went after you.
Homophobic.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you have to black it out. You should show it to people. She called me Don, C sucker Lemon is just. This is what I'll say to Nicki Minaj. I normally don't respond to things like this, but F it. I'm going to do it this time. I think Nicki Minaj has made it very clear how she feels about African Americans in this country. For I don't think she's one of them, obviously, and she should, under Trump's rules, she should be deported because I don't think, reportedly, that she is a legal citizen here. She is undocumented, and so she has shown her disdain for African Americans. So why are you supporting her? Why are you buying her records? She's also supporting. I have lots of gay friends who love Nicki Minaj. Why are you supporting this homophobic, bigoted, ignorant woman? You should not be supporting her. Nicki Minaj, this is clearly out of her depth. She doesn't understand politics. She doesn't understand journalism. And I'm not surprised that she is weighing in on something that is beyond her capacity. What I will say to her is, because she put a doll, I think she put the Chucky doll in there, a better symbol that should have been represented in that picture is a pick-me doll, because Nicki Minaj is a pick-me. She will do anything that is convenient for her politically. And again, she's ignorant. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's always weighing in on things that she doesn't know about. Nicki Minaj should just sit the fuck down. And by the way, isn't she married to an alleged pedophile? And she has the nerve to say something disparaging about and something homophobic. I'm pretty sure that maybe that's part of the reason that she is cozying up to the Trump administration for some sort of leniency for her family members. And it's just very transparent. So Nicki Minaj, F off, stop being a homophobic bigot, and get a life and some brains.
All right, Lemon, that's speculation. You don't know that's what she's doing. You know,
Wow.
women with this speculation. If this was a court of law, the other attorney would be like, objection, Your Honor, speculation. And the
Yeah,
judge would be like,
speculation.
upheld. So yeah, what do you think about Don Lemon and Nicki Minaj reigniting their own version of East Coast West Coast beef with this
I mean,
whole
what kind of
political discourse?
it's a circus. I mean, this is an absolute circus. What did I just watch? What the hell is going on? Like, okay, so hold on. And I'm not trying to be a homophobe or a bigoted person. But I'm trying to. So, what's the problem here? That she called him a sea sucker, as Don Lemon intimated. Is that the homophobic slur?
I guess, given his orientation, I'm guessing that's. I didn't know that was a slur either, but I guess.
I mean, I'm not. I listen. I don't think that. I didn't know that was a slur. And honestly, hold on. hold on. Is it bigoted if it's true? I'm trying to see what's going on. Oh, so he's the one not doing the sucking? Like, what's going on here? Like, why does that offend you, bro? Like, aren't you proud to be who you are? You know what I'm saying? Listen, bro. you know, it is what it is, man. So, everybody gets that called that. So whether you're heterosexual or whatever, like if you bout that, if you a sea sucker and somebody calls you that, I didn't think that was enough to be, identified so much for a specific community. I thought that was a universal slandering of somebody's name. And for a group of people that want to be all inclusive, I feel like she used an all-inclusive slandering word. So for this to be bigoted and homophobic because it's allegedly true, I don't know, like, or allegedly it's something he does.
No, that's not alleged. It's not alleged.
Hey, I'm not going to make any reckless speculation here of what this guy does on his spare time. Okay. But, but listen, bro, it's just one of those things, man, where people call you out for something that you're doing, and they pull the mirror up on you, and I guess he mad that people know he does that. But, but all in all, so what's more homophobic and bigoted? If that's what you live, I don't know. I'm confused, dog. But the real quick to tackle the Nicki Minaj angle,
yeah,
and her turning heel,
yeah,
WWE style, and all of a sudden it's MAGA. It's like she literally had on a blue mini skirt and ripped it off, and now she has a red thong on. She has literally shifted the game and just told everybody that, hey, I'm getting paid by MAGA now. I'm a shameless shield, and she's literally sticking her face in the political arena for absolutely no reason, other than her getting paid. So it's a little weird, it's a little bizarre. And if there's people out there that actually didn't believe that politics is a circus and a show, well, they're actually hiring court jesters to back them and support them. And so she's basically a MAGA influencer now. Is Nicki Minaj. So all in all, I really don't think there was any harm here. I don't see where the beef is, honestly, outside of Don Lemon getting offended by what he does behind closed doors. Apparently, I don't know. But what are your thoughts, man, on this whole fiasco of Nicki Minaj out here calling out Don Lemon and Don Lemon responding? What are your thoughts, bro?
First with Don Lemon, I'll say real quick that Don Lemon here, and I don't think he's doing this knowingly, but Don Lemon in this instance exemplified what I talk about when it comes to the issue of the polarizing nature of political discourse and how, particularly in this country, pro-conservative rhetoric has been conflated with like things that are inherently bad or on the wrong side of history. So if you want to be on the wrong side of history, you have to parrot pro-liberal speech. I think that that's something that's going on in the media, in mainstream, as well as online on the internet, especially with outside influences who are paying for these messages to be disseminated at a higher level online. And the reason why I bring that up is because, due to the fact that that is the current climate, we're now at this point where you can be just as intolerant as the people who you are opposed to, but as long as you're on the right side of history, your intolerance is permissible. So, like, for individuals who are, like, let's say, anti all of the stuff that Nicki Minaj believes in, you can say stuff like, deport this person. And everyone's going to be like, there's nothing wrong with that. We won't bat an eye because that person typically is on the right side of history, given their pro-liberal stance ideologically and philosophically. So if a person in Nicki Minaj's position, and I'm using Nicki Minaj as a facsimile for someone who is conservative leaning or Republican leaning, because I'm not even, because I don't really buy her. I don't buy her as a politically inclined person, but I'm using her as a facsimile for a conservative / Republican leaning, politically inclined person. If such a person were to say what Don Lemon just said, which is they should be deported, they would probably get bastardized on social media, because you can't talking that way, given your ideological stance, as a person who's on the wrong side of history, perceivably, means that you can't have that opinion, or else we're going to come for you. But if you're somebody who maintains a pro-liberal stance more often than not, you can intolerantly claim that someone should be deported, and it's okay because your ideology is on the right side of history. And so that right there clearly, to me, expressed that dichotomy which currently exists. And I don't know that Don Lemon was doing this on purpose, but to me, it showed it, how so long as you are someone who tends to lean a certain kind of way, you can say some pretty outlandish stuff and it's not deemed as problematic because of your stance, versus somebody who's on the other side of the aisle. If they say the exact same thing, or if they hinge on a particular form of speech that's just as dogmatic or intolerant, the reaction to it is very aggressive because they're perceived to be on the wrong side of history. Now, when it comes to Nicki Minaj, I'll just say that she represents everything that's wrong with the modern political process. I agree with you 100% that she is bought and paid for. Like I said before, I think that she is not politically inclined, meaning I don't think she knows a damn thing that she's talking about. I think she's just parroting talking points that are given to her. And she furthermore personifies the biggest issue that I have with the way that the political process is currently constructed, which is the advent of single issue voters, or people who participate in the process for one or two primary things. And so long as those one or two things that they care about primarily are satisfied, there can be 10, 20, 50, 100 other things that are wrong with the other side of things, but because they want their two things, everything else be damned, and they're just going to dig themselves in their hole and stick to their guns on all the things that they care about. I've lost count of the amount of people I know personally who are in favor of this literal Gestapo that is taking place in this country in real time, because the regime that's currently in place gives them the best chance to enhance their crypto portfolio, for example. So as long as their crypto portfolio stands a good chance of being enhanced, or maybe they have a good enough chance of being able to purchase a little bit of quality, these various little things, so long as those things are being satisfied, they're okay with turning the cheek and looking the other way when it comes to the litany of other things that are going wrong. And I feel like Nicki Minaj represents that. She's lock and step, ignorantly so, with a lot of the stuff going on out here in the streets these days because of the one or two things that she lazily expresses she is in favor of when it comes to this particular administration. And I just hope that people understand it for what it is, because it's the way that this stuff is currently constructed when it comes to this political process, and it's taking a lot of people for a ride. So I think that these are two individuals, in my opinion, who are somewhat on the clownish end, albeit for different reasons. I feel like Lemon exemplifies how top intolerance is acceptable so long as your ideology is perceived to be on the right side of history. And I also think Nicki Minaj exemplifies the way that the political process has degenerated into a de facto clown fiesta in which people just want their couple of pieces of government cheese. And so long as you give them their couple of pieces of government cheese, they'll ignore everything else that's wrong with the world.
Yeah, hey, well said, bro. And as you're talking about that, because the first thing that stood out to me was the whole, bigoted term, apparently. So, but the other thing that stuck out to me, which was seemed a bit dangerous, coming from Mr. Lemon here. And by no means am I taking sides either one of these clowns, they're absolute clowns. But for Don Lemon, where he was saying that she's not even African American, she doesn't claim to be, or any of this other stuff, speaks to, and that was a dog whistle. See, people think all dog whistles come from the red side of the street, but that was a dog whistle as well. Because there is a psychological operation out there called FBA, and it's a Foundational Black Americans thing that is going on the internet and has grown wings. To me, it is a complete operation. Is not rooted and based in anything but divisiveness. And the whole premise behind the FBA talking point is that there's, foundational Black Americans here that were here either from the beginning or they were actually African American slaves, and they're from here, so therefore they have their right to reparations and all of this stuff. And what they do is, they just shun everybody else. So if you're from the Caribbean, you're not FBA. If you're from Africa, you're damn sure not FBA. And what comes with that ideology is this whole thing of, the people from the Caribbean and people from Africa think that they're better than us. Well, then we're better than y'all. And so what it does is it creates this divisiveness amongst Black people. And I can't stand it. And so one thing that Don Lemon did there was by saying, she's from the Caribbean, so therefore she can't, speak on this. She should be deported, which speaks to your point of, does that make it okay?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And also, while you were talking, this all came from somebody being unalived at a protest. So I don't really know the story on that, but I think I know enough of that story to know that that's the story.
Yeah.
But what happens is when these figureheads get involved, these paid figureheads, because we've already discussed that Nicki is a paid shield. Okay. Well, then TMZ of all places decides to interview Don Lemon about what Don Lemon thought about what Nicki said. So now there's a whole situation of something happened, and then here these two come. Whoa, hey guys, over here. Whoa. If this isn't the example of a psychological operation and an example of how we are being distracted by these puppets, okay, because that's all Nicki is. That's all Don Lemon is. He's a puppet for the blue side, the Crips, and she's a puppet for the Bloods.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, they are here to terrorize our social media feeds. Much like the Crips and the Bloods are used to terrorize our neighborhoods and the communities, to destabilize those neighborhoods and communities, the same thing is done on social media whenever these two people are being paid from opposing sides are getting down and they're arguing in front of everybody. That's why Nicki was just blue. You know, she was just rocking with Don Lemon, you know, not too far ago in the past, as you mentioned. Okay. But now all of a sudden, the music changed and now there's fog machines. And now the WWE people are saying, oh my God, Nicki is just trade sides. Now she hits Don Lemon over the head with a chair. It's like, well, y'all just buddies. It's part of the show.
Yeah.
So part of their show is dangerous rhetorics. And so Nicki's coming with her dangerous side, and here comes Don Lemon with his dangerous side. Both sides of the extreme that they're trying to normalize as the median. And it shouldn't be. But these extremist point of views are being popularized so much that they are becoming, sadly, part of the normal conversation and lexicon of people that aren't actually sitting down and dissecting this. So all in all, I'm with you, man. I think what Don Lemon was saying was quite dangerous and honestly divisive, and it's allowing this type of talking points of just deport them anyway. I'm not standing for that. I think that these two clowns are putting on a show. So I choose not to watch Pennywise and the other one, but I'm not going for the show. Sorry.
Yeah, they're like DLC in a fighting video game. Like,
yes.
If you put Chucky from Child's Play as DLC and then Pennywise, you can fight them in a match. It's like Mortal Kombat DLC. You know what I'm saying? Like Don Lemon is Pennywise and Nicki Minaj is Chucky. But I think the only reason why he could get away with saying that she should be deported is because his ideology, especially in the eyes of the mainstream media, is perceived to be on the right side of history.
Noble. Yes.
And so whenever your philosophy is perceived to be on the right side of history, you can be just as intolerant and dogmatic in how you treat other people, but it's permissible because you're fighting the good fight. Therefore, it's okay to treat people that way. And really, the truth is, if you really uphold yourself to be an example for how the world ought to be, like if you believe that your views are consistent with what would make the world a better place, then you would, be congruent with that, and you would show that person a certain amount of levity and restraint and compassion, and not leap to extremes to say things like deport this person. And just like you, that isn't an in defense of Nicki Minaj stance. Really, to me, that is just in defiance to this dichotomy that has been presented here, where people are being sequestered forcefully so into these buckets of choosing one extreme political side or the other. That's really what I am in staunch opposition to. And he represents one of those sides and she represents another one of those sides. And it is utterly ridiculous. And to your point about using her not being documented or whatever he was trying to get, the point that he was trying to get across with that, you raise a good point with that. But people tend to do that when convenient, of course. When convenient, people try to conflate things like race and culture and nationalism all into the same bucket as if they're all the same thing. And they're not the same thing. Everybody with half a brain knows that the way race is implemented in terms of casual conversation, specifically in this country, is based upon an idea of a cultural construct. It's not rooted in nationalism or what your true ethnicity is. In the United States of America, Nicki Minaj is just as black as Don Lemon, even if Nicki Minaj is Trinidadian, because in this country, race is a cultural construct and you adhere to the same cultural rules and norms as every other black person because of the way that this country has socialized people into various different buckets. So it's all the same. The only time that you even bring up stuff like where she's from is out of convenience to try to make a superior point, even though ordinarily otherwise it's all conflated and lumped in to be the same thing. So, I just don't agree with that, but I don't agree with either one of them. I can't stand either one of these individuals, and it has nothing to do with either of their chosen lifestyles. I just detest the way that they represent the polarized nature of political discourse, and it needs to stop. It honestly needs to stop.
And if last thing I'll say is, and if you watch clowns do clown stuff, it's okay to laugh. As you saw here, as we were playing the clip, I got a good little chuckle out of that, and I'll leave it there. You know, if you get upset at the clown on stage performing their act because they popped one too many balloons and that made you uncomfortable, okay, you have to check your reality and realize you're at a circus. So you either laugh at the show, okay, or not be there at all or something. I don't know. But getting upset at the clowns on stage as they're performing, what are you doing? Hey, you're supposed to be juggling 5 things, not just 4. Like, what do you? He's a clown. Don Lemon's a clown. Nicki's a clown. And I'm telling you right now, there's people right now on Nicki's side because they believe in Lil Chucky. And and then there's the Don Lemon defenders, you know what I'm saying? Probably some type of people themselves. And at the same time, they're getting upset at what Nicki said or whatever, is just too much. So let clowns be at the circus. Let them put on these shows. Let them entertain. I get a good laugh out of it, and then I turn the channel or I walk out. That's it. So these are clowns of the day, if you ask me. We probably got more coming up later. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think he's a clown though, but again, it takes me back to my central point. A lot of people don't look at Don Lemon as a clown because of his ideologies. So a lot of this just hinges on your spectrum, and I don't mean that, no pun intended. Like a lot of this leans on your ideological perspective, and one has been identified as right and the other one has been identified as wrong. And the one that's been identified as right categorically can't be associated with clown type behavior because it's right. And how can it be clown type behavior when it's right? So, think for yourself, everybody. Just because he's a nice guy and he espouses certain ideologies doesn't mean that he's inherently right and that you should believe him. Same thing with her. You really shouldn't believe anything she says. She's an idiot.
100%, man.
Now we have friend of the channel, LeBron James,
right,
who is being talked about in this particular instance, not because of basketball, but because of a job fair that his family foundation is spearheading in his neck of the woods in Akron, Ohio. So this says LeBron James brings the main thing job fair and skills summit to Akron. LeBron James is bringing a different kind of hometown assist to Akron, according to an official announcement on the House 33 website on January 23rd. The basketball icon is helping launch the Main Thing Skills Summit, a free one-day job fair and career development event designed to connect local job seekers with real-world tools, employers, and opportunities, all under one roof. The summit is a collaboration between Uninterrupted, Indeed, and the LeBron James Family Foundation. It will take place at House 330, the community hub created by the foundation to support job training, entrepreneurship, and family resources in Akron. Unlike a traditional job fair that focuses only on resumes and applications, the Main Thing Skills Summit is built around skill building and confidence. Attendees will have access to hands-on career tools powered by Indeed, along with networking sessions and discussions with leaders from companies like Sherwin-Williams, Chase, Garda, and House 330 itself. The goal is to help participants better understand how their existing skills translate across industries and how to present themselves effectively to employers. One of the featured conversations will spotlight Cleveland-based restaurateur Doug Petkovich, who will speak about leadership, career growth, and navigating professional pivots. The evening wraps with a more relaxed community moment, House 330's signature R&B sing-along after party. The event reflects a long-running through line in James's off-court work, investing in infrastructure, not optics. Through the LeBron James Family Foundation initiatives like the I Promise School, I Promise Village, and job training programs at House 330 are designed to support families well beyond graduation day. Founded by James and Maverick Carter, Uninterrupted has built its platform around athlete-driven storytelling and community impact, while Indeed brings its global reach as the world's most used job site into the mix. The Main Thing Skills Summit takes place Friday, January 23rd from 3 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time at House 330, located at 532 West Market Street in Akron, Ohio. Registration is free and open to the public. So, LeBron is stat padding in his career, and he can't play back-to-backs, and he's a defensive liability, and all of that good stuff that he has going on. All of that stuff that he has going on the court. But off the court, you know, he's running with this job fair with his family foundation in partnership with these other corporations. What do you think about that?
I think it's good. So I think it's a good thing for the people, the young people that are going to be attending this. Hopefully they can use their experience with this foundation in order to better their lives and better themselves. Listen, guys, I'm sorry here. Listen, bro, I've lived my life exploring the deepest of rabbit holes. So I got a lot of tunnels and stuff like that where, you know, when I hear certain things or certain numbers or I see certain things, it leads me to believe that there's something else going on here. Now, with that being said, I've already acknowledged, okay, that I think it's great for the young people because there's some young people that's going to attend this thing. It's going to change their lives. It'll change their perspective, their paradigm. They'll grow up to be excellent people and look back on this foundation of what they've done for them. And, you know, they'll be extremely grateful for it. So by no means am I crapping on the actual boots on the ground effects on this. You know, to me, and this is just me, bro, but to me, House 330, the name sounds, it's like, what's that? What kind of name is that? You know, when you're affiliated like LeBron is, they do a lot of stuff. It's kind of like how, you know, back in the good old days of YouTube, where people were actually decoding music videos and showing all the symbology and numerology and things of that's going on in music videos. Well, the same thing goes on in other aspects of life, movies and other things. And 330 is 33. Is 33, and 33 is a big number in you know, Freemasonic things. So I type in House of 330, and one of the logos that they have for, you know, they have the word house and they have certain patterns in the house, and the letter O has a checkerboard on it, which people, again, with Freemasonic stuff, you know, they wouldn't understand and identify the checkerboard. Just because it's Freemasonic doesn't mean that bad. No, I think him naming it 330 had something to do with something. It shows allegiance. It shows who he belongs to. It shows what he's about as a person. However, this foundation that he's teaming up with, as you mentioned, corporations and stuff, you know, it's a PR-ish kind of thing. It's a PR-ish kind of move. And the balance between doing something PR that actually has an impact on the community, that's the part about it where I'm not crapping on the impact that it would have on Akron, because I'm sure Akron didn't have nothing like this going on. So them having this is a good thing. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think that what he decided to name it, what it actually is, it's just overall a good PR type of thing for his name. Does that make it bad? Does it make it not? I'm not saying any of those things. I'm just highlighting what I think it is. But overall, I just would hope that the young people that are attending this get something really good out of it and use it to impact their lives in a positive way. So LeBron has done other things as far as the I Promise stuff and all these other things. And there's been some backlash about other things that he's done foundationally. But I know sprinkled in there, if not a good chunk of people, maybe possibly, would say the positive impacts that having these types of things did in their lives. So all in all, I would rather him do something like this than him do something that's completely destructive. We just covered two clowns, and Don Lemon and Nicki Minaj, who is adding nothing with their last conversation, and have added nothing to anything in life. So LeBron is the same level of clown to me, if you ask me. But if a clown decided to have something like this going on for clown reasons, possibly, the boots on the ground, the impact of young people is still being had. So that's what I'll celebrate out of this. So I'm glad, at least glad he's doing this, I would say, I guess, with his clown situations. But what are your thoughts, man? I want a little Galaxy brain on there, but that's how I live life, brother. But what are your thoughts, man, on LeBron James starting up a nice little foundations for the youngins in Akron? What are your thoughts, bro?
Hey man, ain't nothing wrong with Galaxy Brain. That's what this channel is known for. So it says that the name comes from the area code 330. You're not buying that?
Nah. Hey, if that's what the area code is, then that's what it is. So
that's what it says. It says the name comes from the Akron, Ohio area code of 330.
Okay, well, if that's what it is, then hey, man, that's a good name for it. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. So a good pull there. So, but me personally, I'll still lean on my stuff though. But what do you think?
I just wanted to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's just a matter of, see, you used a good word that I'm going to focus on real quick. You said you don't want to deny the practical impact of such an initiative. And I agree with that, but it also depends on how you define practical. Is practical putting people in positions to just earn a livelihood and contribute to society? Or is practical meaning put people in positions to be able to be financially independent and free? Right. So those are two different ideas of practical. And depending on which one of those ideas of practicality you personally identify with when it comes to how you define practical, I think ultimately will determine the efficacy of this kind of initiative. Because to me, I kind of feel like something like this, and this is not a criticism, I'm just calling it for what it is based upon what I'm reading and what I've seen. It looks like this is the type of initiative that aims to position people to merely contribute to society and earn a livelihood via the leveraging of various skill sets, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't necessarily think, for me personally, that moves the needle, because we've already, in terms of our community specifically, been funneled into this like pressure chamber of learning certain skills that you can leverage with a certain ceiling so that you can earn a livelihood and contribute to society, but you'll never actually be free because you're not being positioned to learn those skill sets or be in those rooms or make those kinds of connections. So for me, I talk about stuff like this all the time, and I don't know the sort of details. So I'm just speaking from my perspective. For me, if this kind of initiative is going to put people in these communities in positions to learn the requisite skill sets that they'll need in order to be perceived as valuable in future economies and future markets, then I'm all for that. I'm good with that. But the article talked about a restaurateur coming to be one of the keynotes at this event. And the guys in the restaurant business, which, don't get me wrong, people are always going to want to go to restaurants and eat food. But one thing that restaurants do is employ people. And they don't employ people with a high ceiling for earning a livelihood that sets you free financially.
Mhm.
Like the restaurant business as an employee is a fixed one that has a certain ceiling. Like you're
Mhm.
not going to be buying property and land and investing in gold and Bitcoin off of your hourly wage pay that you're getting from a restaurant job.
Mhm.
And that's one example of the types of industries and market that I don't think lend themselves to practicality in terms of being fruitful in future markets.
Mhm.
So all I can do is be hopeful that this particular initiative is making strides in that regard. And again, I don't know. I did a little bit of research. I don't see like an itinerary or a list of programming for the event or things like that. I don't know if one such thing exists. I'll continue to look for it. But if it's all about, and they said it's not necessarily about resume building, so that's cool. But if it's all about putting people in a room that just still inevitably connects them with employee seekers, I'm gonna say, okay, from the standpoint of from the standpoint of, you know, earning a paycheck and paying taxes, that is practical and I can live with that. But is it my kind of practicality in terms of being able to leverage a needed skill set in future markets so that you can't be cast by the wayside and you can actually earn a livelihood that enables you to make your own schedule and work on your own time and buy property and buy land and free yourself and make strategic investments so that you can set yourself up to at least establish a seed for generational wealth? That is what I prefer to see when I look at certain things like job fairs, for example. And so
Mhm.
if it doesn't accomplish that, then all I can do is, you know, have at least enough balance to say it strikes a chord in terms of reaching some sort of practical impact, but otherwise doesn't necessarily move the needle all that way for me personally.
Yeah, I mean, but here's the thing, and I hear your point. So I'm not I'm not so I'm not gonna pick I'm not picking at it when I say this because I hear your point. My point also from the practicality aspect of is that there's some kids out there that are life bored. They're
Mhm,
bored. Their life is boring, and I'm not saying because they whatever. What I mean by they're bored is that they don't have anything to do.
mhm,
And so there's kids out there that have nothing to do. So since they're bored, they get into the wrong things.
mhm.
And so having something where they can go to it and it be like a rec center,
Yeah,
like rec
yeah.
centers aren't trying to help you be better, but it damn sure kept that kid away from his block, which was an
Mhm,
issue. So these types of things, I don't see anything wrong because as small as it may seem, a lot of these communities are lacking stuff like that to keep kids safe. And the ones that do have that, they end up being safe because they were at the rec center or the whatever all day long right after school. So they didn't have to come home to the BS of their own personal family for some of these people. So if there is something out there where young people could go somewhere and just not be around the BS, I'm all for that. They don't need to learn life skills. They just need to be away from the BS to have the ability to learn life skills. Because some of those people come from situations where, yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, right. Life skills. I'm trying to survive, abusive XYZ, you know, or I walk out the door and the neighborhood goons is constantly harassing me, trying to be a part of their weird group. So if there is something out there that saves people from that, I'm not here to, and I'm not saying you are, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not here to get on that, because on a baseline, and that's the thing. Because what you were also saying is kind of what I'm saying as well. As I mean, it's really bare minimum stuff for.
Well, we don't know.
Right,
yeah, right. Well, I don't know. I'm saying based upon what I read in that piece, it just, I'm not seeing the elevated form of what it is that we would like to see, the future iteration of stuff like that. It seems like we're still doing career fairs. In 2026, we're still doing career fairs. I don't, and again, it depends on the logistics of said career fair. If it's an elevated form of career fair, totally get it. But if it's the career fair in the traditional sense of show up and here are these people to talk to you and try to impart and instill some inspiration, and again, let me say I'm not picking apart what you're saying, because I agree with you as well. But there's also there's two schools of thought of helping people to at least physically position them in proximity to productivity, which is great. But then there's also the elevated version where we're getting a gainful bite at the financial freedom apple. And so I'm at the point where I like to see initiatives where people are being positioned in proximity to have a gainful bite at the financial freedom apple. And again, I don't know if this is or is not that. Based upon that article I read, it sounds like it's basic career fair stuff. That's what it sounds like to me. But if it's not, great. And if it is, also great. Because like you said, you make a great point. But I always just like to pay attention to what's going on at that elevated level, so that, we can start to skew back some of these statistics of being disproportionately economically disenfranchised, so different things like that. It's just different perspectives.
No, and I hear that, and that's what I said, as far as, because that's why I also said where, we were just talking about two real clowns, and LeBron is a clown to me as well. But at least in this story and in this context, there's a something being done. But here's the thing, Bill Gates also do stuff, and other people also do stuff, and you can look at their charitable foundations and their giving backs. But then that gets into the conversation that what you're talking about, in the sense of, yeah, but what are you really doing? And if it's just adding to the chaos of what's going on out here for real, then you may have saved them from one level of hell, and you just took them to another layer of hell, but you're not telling them how to get out of hell.
That's exactly my point. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I said my initial point, in the sense of, I mean, I get it. Like, at least he's doing something.
Right.
And that's why I said that the young people have to take, these people that are just a part of this have to take this opportunity to do something of their own. And I would like to think that if a broad enough net of people engage with it, that the right kinds of people that know how to use the opportunity the right way would see themselves out of it. But the crux of these celebrities or wealthy philanthropists who actually do have initiatives and actually have things that actually have changed people's lives, who actually donate scholarships, and that person that had that scholarship actually developed whatever, like those cracks, those roses that come through the cracks actually happen through some of these large foundations that's just throwing monies away for tax cuts. So you just got to, it's just a matter of how you want to look at this entire situation. But I'm not going to sit here and go, way to go, way to go, but at the same time, I can't sit here and crucify him either.
Yeah.
So it's on. That's why I take it back to the people that are actually a part of this. Hopefully they are taking advantage of these types of things. And if it's just a regular everyday job fair where you're doing this pseudo ass network and get business cards and all this other BS, then, it's whoop-de freaking do. But hopefully somebody in there actually seize upon these opportunities and use them the right way.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Hopefully that is the goal. So, I'm personally going to follow up on things that come from this if any of it becomes public knowledge, and maybe we'll circle back because I am interested to see the kind of program that this event is going to entail. Um, Kind of sounds like a regular job fair, even though they said it's not. Still, they didn't get specific in terms of the programs and the types of skilled building things that they were going to be doing. So without the specifics, all I can do is speculate and guess.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. So shout out to the people of Akron and those young people out there that go to that foundation that he has there. Hopefully you guys are maximizing on this and taking advantage of the opportunity of having a nice place to hang out. It looks like for these young people. So do y'all things and shout out to Akron, man. Shout out to Ohio, man. Except Ohio State alumni.
Yeah.
Ohio State fans, y'all kick rock.
Yeah, I got to second you on that one too. Yeah. You speak facts on that one.
Hey man, come on, man.
Now we move on to a very interesting story. I am very interested to read the comments on this. I really am. I'm also very interested to hear what you have to say about this. So I actually read something about this maybe a week or so ago, but I didn't broach it on the channel because I was like, it's far-fetched. That's probably not going to happen. At this point, it kind of still looks like it probably won't happen because the gubernatorial candidate who is trying to push this thing, it's not necessarily looking like he has a legitimate chance to become governor of Florida. But for anyone who is unaware, there is a gubernatorial candidate in the state of Florida. And one of the things that he is campaigning on is a proposed sin tax for the state of Florida, in which content creators, specifically people who are on OnlyFans, would pay 50% of their earnings in taxes. And this guy calls this a sin tax.
50%. God damn.
50%, bro. Yeah, 50%. That's how extreme he feels about this. So, of course, you have all of the sex workers coming out of the woodwork to object to this. Friend of the channel, Sophie Rain, she was one of the first people talking about how blasphemous this is. And we have another OnlyFans, sex worker who is objecting to this. And this chick goes by the name of Anya Lacey. Now, full disclosure, I've never heard of this woman before, but that, of course, comes as no surprise. I don't follow these individuals on these platforms, if that's what you want to call them. But this woman here, Anya Lacey, who is on OnlyFans, is not a fan of this proposed sin tax, and she's speaking out against it. So this says, OnlyFans trad wife Anya Lacey slams Florida governor candidate for a sin tax proposal. Conservative OnlyFans creator. I don't even know what that means. Conservative OnlyFans.
Oh, because she's a trad wife, so she's conservative by content.
Whatever, I guess. So, conservative OnlyFans creator Anya Lacey is firing back at Florida gubernatorial candidate James Fishback over his proposal to impose a steep new tax on content creators using the subscription-based platform. Fishback 31 has called for a 50% sin tax on income earned through OnlyFans, claiming the measure would raise $200 million in revenue to boost teacher salaries and school lunches.
Cap.
The Republican hopeful, who trails far behind Representative Byron Donalds in GOP primary polling, said the proposal is aimed at discouraging what he called online degeneracy. As Florida governor in year one, I will push for the first of its kind OnlyFans sin tax. If you are a so-called OnlyFans creator in Florida, you are going to pay 50% to the state on whatever you so-called earn via that online degeneracy platform. Lacey, 19, who promotes conservative and trad white values while running a successful OnlyFans account, called the proposal misguided and discriminatory. Speaking to the New York Post, Lacey stated, "I think it's absolutely ridiculous and it's quite rich in a state where the city, Miami, was literally built off cocaine money, and he's calling it a sin tax. I don't really understand that, since we could call alcohol a sin, marijuana strip clubs. Unless he's ready to put a tax on anything that can be considered a sin, I think his proposal is absolutely ludicrous. This state has never been a stranger to people making money in ways the general public might not approve of. Let's not rewrite history." She argued the bill reflects a broader hypocrisy, pointing to data suggesting 50% of U.S. adults have viewed pornography, with 27% admitting to doing so in the past month. Those are the numbers of those who surveyed admitted. That figure is likely much higher. If you're assuming the public will support this, you're also pretending a quarter of them aren't engaging with this content. That's just false. And to act like no one in the state or house is watching this stuff is delusional. Lacey said much of her content on the platform is not explicit at all. I've posted fishing videos, baking content, videos with my pets, she explained. The creator also took issue with the framing of the tax as a penalty for immoral behavior. Let's call it what it is, a punitive tax on a personal belief system. If you're calling this a sin tax, then why aren't alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and even strip clubs being taxed at the same rate? You don't get to decide that OnlyFans is the one true sin. So that's her 2 cents on that. What do you make of the sin tax and this Anya Lacey woman's you know, the argument that she used to clap back against this idea?
I mean, honestly, bro, like I'm not trying to sit here and agree with a trad bop, because that's what she is, a trad bop. She ain't no wife. But that's a good point. It's pretty lazy. It's low hanging fruit. You should have came up with another name. I get it. It sounds spicy. Should have came up with another name for that. I'm pretty sure that's the street name for a syntax, but if you want to go there, you're going to have these kind of arguments, which honestly is valid. But then the other part of that is, well, who's going to support this? Now, I know Florida is a conservative state and it has its conservative views, but a large amount of money coming out of Miami is that industry.
Yes.
South Florida, it's that industry. So it wouldn't just be OnlyFans models that's getting taxed. It would also be the industry that works there that would be getting taxed, I'm sure.
Well, he specifically said OnlyFans tax. Yeah.
But a lot the way that these things are also working is that some of these girls, a la what's your boy name that got his ass beat up, Andrew Tate. Some people actually work women through OnlyFans. So it's some OnlyFans things where it's her account, but it's managed by other people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also that industry as well. It's an industry.
Yeah.
And so there's people making money out of it, male and female, that's exploiting this content. And so it's not enough to swing a vote, but they would also be very influential people that are not going to be down for this, that are males. That are on the production side of it. And then there's the fans who are going to get taxed for it. Because the only thing the girl's going to do is raise their rates. So then the guys that are watching this garbage and paying these woes, they're going to be hit with inflation. A 50% tax. Hey, girl, I was only paying $5 a month. Now I gotta pay $7.50. This is an outrage, or some guys are actually just gonna pay for it. But why would you volunteer as a voter to pay more for your degeneracy? Doesn't add up. So yes, Florida, I guess technically would qualify for a southern state. Okay, it is conservative, but there is a lot of money being made in Florida, as she mentioned, bruh. Strip clubs, drugs.
No, I think Miami. I'd have to look up some data to see if I can I would have to look up and see if I can find some data to back this up.
Mhm.
But I'm hard pressed to think that any other city currently in this country makes more money off of the sex industry than Miami right now. But I have to look up some data. That's my guess.
Yeah,
I need to
yeah,
look
yeah.
up some data to back that up before I can say that factually.
It's
But the
mhm.
amount of this content that gets produced down here, hard for me to believe that more money is being made elsewhere than this place doing
Well, I
this
think
stuff.
it's safe to bet it's top five.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's safe to bet top five,
absolutely.
which
Yeah.
in and of itself is still very impressive. Depending on how you want to look at impressive, but nevertheless, it's part of the economy, and so by him doing this, it sounds good. I don't think it's going to work. Um, I don't think it's going to deter the content creators, if you want to call them that, uh, or the people who pay. I don't think it's going to sway anybody, man. I don't know who's that high on their moral horse, even if they don't like, if there's people that don't even partake in it that want to decide to go, yeah, tax them woes, and then what are you going to, you're going to allegedly spend that on education books in school. Like, let's be honest here. All right. Let's get an audit trail on that money once you get it. But all in all, I'm not buying it. I don't think the people are going to go for it. And it's sad to say that in this context, I agree with a box worker. But what are your thoughts, man, on this OnlyFans girl saying that the syntax is absolutely outrageous? What are your thoughts, bro?
So everything that I'm looking up here is saying California is still leading in that category.
I would think so. California
Yeah,
is very debaucherous, bro. We just
yeah,
haven't really been out there like that.
yeah. It just seems like anytime I run across a story involving somebody doing something on OF,
Mhm.
they do it out of Miami.
Yeah.
It just seems like every time I see it, that's where I'm reading it from.
Mhm.
She's right. She is right. She does make a point. So unfortunately, I have to agree with this person. She does make a point in that if you're going to tax that on the syntax, then why can't you tax all the other stuff on syntax? But I feel like the reason why stuff like this is coming about is because for whatever reason, things like OnlyFans just hits different. And maybe it could be a generational thing. Maybe like if you've been alive long enough, you're desensitized towards the presence of strip clubs and alcohol. So it doesn't affront your sensibilities as much as OnlyFans, which is this relatively new thing that pretty much exploded and became proliferated in the wake of COVID for the most part. So maybe that has something to do with why people some people react so aggressively to it. But I do think it hits different. I do think it hits different because, prior to OF becoming what it is, you didn't really see. I'll give you an example. And this is something that we talked about previously on the channel, right? Um, you didn't see, you wouldn't typically read stories of the mother of a child in elementary school driving her kid to school and having her stripper job advertised on her car, right? Like that wasn't a story that you would turn on to the news and read about,
Mhm.
right? This woman who shows up with her OnlyFans advertised on her car while she's dropping her elementary school kid off to school. And the school has code of conduct policies and whatnot. It's against you're violating policy. So the school reprimands the mom, tells the mom if you insist on dropping the kid off, you need to either remove the advertisement or maybe park somewhere else and walk your kid over because we can't have that on school grounds, so on and so forth. And
Mhm.
the woman raised hell, claiming that the school was essentially discriminating against her because it was not allowing her to freely advertise her OnlyFans on her car. And this one, the nature of this woman's OnlyFans was busting it wide open.
Of
So
course.
she ain't fishing and cooking and doing laundry. Her OnlyFans is busting it wide open. And you typically you didn't see that going on with women who were strippers, for example. Did it happen? I don't know. Was it being underreported? I'm sure somebody would suggest it's been happening all this time. It's just not being it's being reported now, or it was being underreported. I don't buy that. I just think that that's something that humans were not doing back then.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, people are emboldened to be sex workers out in the open, glamorized, celebrated so much so that they're being afforded all these various platforms, and the stigmatization around it is being stripped away so much so that there's an aspect of legitimacy that is being attached to it now compared to the way it used to be, that people like her are now feeling free and comfortable to advertise this, even though they're driving their elementary school kid to school every morning.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see that with women who are strippers. You didn't see that with escorts. Hell, I mean, you didn't really see it with tobacco, and you didn't really see it. If you want to lump, like if you had a liquor store, maybe you had like something on your car advertising your business or whatever. Call this number, blah blah blah. I don't recall stuff like that. I don't recall that. I don't recall that with tobacco. So these examples that she's using to highlight the discrepancy, while on the surface she does make a point in that all of those can be lumped into the category of sin, she's failing to mention that the way these things are glamorously being promoted and advertised nowadays hits different by comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what people are objecting to is the readiness of the communication and the messaging and the marketing of it. You didn't really see strippers driving their elementary school kid up to school with their stripperness advertised on their car. That wasn't really something that you saw. So I think the difference is stuff like OnlyFans is just hitting different, and people are taking offense to it. Now, this guy who's running for governor, I think he's doing this knowing that there's a high likelihood that it will never pass, because there's too much money to be made. So he's using it as a way to put his name on the map as the guy who's going to fight back against all of these aspects of degeneracy that we all hate so much.
Yes.
But practically speaking, the likelihood that it's going to go through very slim, because there's too much money being made off this stuff. But all in all, to her point, she makes a point to an extent, but I also think she fails to acknowledge the nuance, probably purposefully so, because she knows that if you do introduce the nuance to the conversation, she doesn't really have a leg to stand on. I think this stuff hits different because of the accessibility and the ubiquitousness of the look and the feel and the iconography and the imagery of it. That's what makes it different compared to the way it used to be. And that's what has people up in arms, suggesting stuff like this, impractical as it may be.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I think that the whole fact I really agree with the fact that he's basically doing this as a publicity stunt to make a name of himself in the state of Florida. Again, man, I don't know if you want to do that. I mean, I guess that's the right tree to bark up, I guess, for the algorithm, but if you're a politician in the state of Florida, you want to make nice with those levels of influential people. I'm not talking about the models. I'm talking about the people in that industry. Because if you come for a website or an app or whatever you want to call it, that's a very targeted legislation, which again adds to the point of how are you going to enforce this? Like, what are you talking about? So it's ridiculous. But still, even in the fact of, I think that this guy is barking up the wrong tree as far as getting that industry upset with him. If you're a politician, I'm not telling you to smoothie up with these people. I'm just telling you don't piss them off. So he's making a name of himself, but he might be making the wrong kind of name for being a clown. So we'll see how far this goes. But I think that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for him to push this, to be honest. And again, I'm not sitting here defending these wolves. I just think that was a lazy way of getting your name out there. And this was a lazy thing to call it, a syntax and stuff, because what do you mean by sin? You know,
Exactly.
it's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
So I think it was very lazy of him. But the points you bring up as far as yeah, we didn't see strippers doing that or whatever. Yeah, it's a different type of whatever with this OF stuff because it's actually legitimized at this point as a side hustle.
Yeah.
And this
Well,
is
because
my
they're not being called P stars. They're not being called adult film actors and actresses. They're not being called any of that. They're being called content creators. So like everywhere you look with this stuff, there is an aspect of legitimacy that has accompanied the proliferation of OnlyFans that you didn't really see being accompanied with the stuff from previous eras, right?
Mhm.
So that's what it is. It just hits different. There's an era of legitimacy that has come along with this that is different.
Yeah, and I did a little market research on this situation here. And yeah, man, her page is her she literally does what everybody else does. Like, I don't know what her OF is, but her like social media stuff is literally what every other risque, scandalous girl does online. Um, and she's got the OF attached to it, I'm sure. But if her content is anything like her regular IG page, which it might be a real derivative of it, because she's just saying that she's cooking and stuff like that, and you know, how do you, is that a sin? Because there's some thirsty conservative dudes that want a trad thotty. You know what I'm saying? Like, if she's really not showing box, where's the line drawn? It's because she actually have an OF page. So let's say that she takes that off OF. How are you going to enforce that now when she's just literally showing ass shots in an apron? So where's the line drawn? Can she not wear an apron? Can she not show her thong? Can all women with thongs on platforms? How is this going to get enforced, bro?
There's a lot of ambiguity.
Yeah, and that's the reason why this is more of a publicity stunt than an actual statement. To try to make this trad thought look like a scholar, actually debating against a politician, and she actually had more valid points than that arsehole. So, nah, both of these people get thrown in the clown category, like like Don Lemon and Nicki Minaj. I think all of this is just outrageous. But I would say this, as far as that is barking up the right tree, because I know there are going to find a way to nationally tax this, because it's being legitimized and actually seen as some type of a side hustle. So long as you aren't selling your box, but you're visually selling it online, they're going to find a way to get a cut of that. 50%, I think they're not going to do that.
No.
But they're definitely going to find a way to get a cut of that. Just like they're doing with the gambling industry, they're going to find a way to take, because this is $1 billion industry that these everyday amateur woes are getting paid. So they're going to find a way to take a good chunk of that. So I think this is barking up the tree that's going to happen eventually later, though. I would say that.
Yeah, you raise a good point. I definitely think in the near future there will be MGM Bet and DraftKings and Hard Rock Bet app versions of OnlyFans.
Yeah,
it's only a matter of time. Yeah, because I think that's the difference. I think in the past, cat houses, escort services, strip clubs, street corners, these were all right. Yeah, like these things were all like underground, you known but not spoken of. If you patronized it, you didn't talk about it. You definitely
like
didn't. You wouldn't post about it. It just kind of lurked in the shadows. It was underground, and everybody just accepted that it exists, but it's delegitimized from that standpoint. And the difference between that and OnlyFans is OnlyFans has been aggressively mainstream and legitimized. And so that's where this fervor to try to figure out a way to responsibly box it into certain categories comes from. Because I think the idea is, well, hell, if you're going to force the general population to accept that this is now legitimate, we need to figure out the proper ways to place certain parameters around said legitimacy. And of course, so, some of the people who don't want to lose a lot of their ends are going to, complain about it. But at the end of the day, you're not going to stop that storm from coming, because Uncle Sam always figures out a way to get its cut. Always. I remember back when we were in middle school, high school, I never would have thought that I'd see the day that you literally could pull open your phone and have access to a legalized casino right there on your phone. Like back when we were growing up, you had to go to Atlantic City or Las Vegas if you wanted to go to a casino, or Reno, Nevada, or Carson City, Nevada, some of them places like that. Now, Florida here, casinos all over the place. You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. And then on the phone, pull up the app, you gambling like it's nothing. Uncle Sam eventually comes for everybody. And since we have accepted that this sex working is now legitimized, Uncle Sam is going to come for it too.
Yes. And and last thing I'll say is, because they found other ways to tax these women, because I'm sure they do pay some type of tax or whatever, but there's going to be a special code, a 1099 type thing.
Yeah,
right.
right.
It's just like, you're going to have to fill this out.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they're going to pay, I think they're going to pay a little bit more than everybody else, because honestly, that's a pretty clean tax. It's credit card transactions. It's all online digital stuff. It's easily trackable and traceable. So that I think that'll be I'm not, it is what it is. But I'm telling you right now, once the government gets involved like that for real, it's just going to create an inflation. So the only thing that these girls are going to do is increase their prices. And the crazy part about it is these dudes are going to be paying the premium.
Yeah, and that right there is the point of this whole thing. You just hit the nail on the head. That it will be paid, and those subscriptions will remain anyway.
Yeah, these wolves don't care. They're just going to charge the dudes more.
Yeah.
Hey, man, the guys are always getting the shorter end of the stick with all of this stuff, man. But hey, like you said, bro, you're the one that got the power in your hands as a man.
Yeah.
And you give your power away. And in this context, if you want to be the guy that's complaining about groceries, complaining about rent, complaining about insurance, complaining about all this other stuff,
complaining about women being for the streets,
but you're paying the extra taxed OF website fees. Hey, bro, kick rocks. You have nowhere to stand on that, bro. Like, nobody's gonna feel sorry for you, bro, because you got a $72 balance every month on these various women. It used to be $50. Bro, get out of my face, bro. Get out of my face, dog.
Trust me, they'll still find a way to complain about it, even though you're right. I agree with you. They don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to complaining. They'll still complain anyway.
Unbelievable. Man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Florida. Those two can kick rocks. Yeah, she your boy.
Oh man, now we have certified OG friend of the channel, Tyrese.
Sure, man.
Certified OG. I don't think there is no more friend of the channel, ironically, than Tyrese. A fun fact to anybody who does not know the history of this channel: the first ever in the history of this channel video that we ever did was a Tyrese topic.
Unbelievable.
The first topic we ever did was Tyrese melting down. Was Tyrese melting down on Instagram?
Wow. We covered that piece of gold.
Yes, we did. Yeah, all the way back in 2017. That's how far back this guy's trials and tribulations with this same story, with this same woman. Right, because when we talked about that back in 2017, wasn't that with this chick, the woman that he got divorced to?
It's pretty much the same thing. It's like a saga. It's various chapters of the same saga.
But here we go again. So Tyrese is now opening up once again online, urging people to, look out for themselves first and not, you know, put themselves in a position to be responsible for taking care of other people, because other people will just kind of take advantage of you and, in his words, bleed you dry.
Mhm.
So this says Tyrese says he has nothing left because people are bleeding him dry. In a since deleted post on Instagram, Tyrese Gibson suggested he's lost a lot by prioritizing others and urged people to put themselves first. Tyrese suggested that there have been people bleeding him dry and that he believes loyalty has an expiration date. He urged his fans to let go of dead weight and said that people keep tiring and wiping themselves out because they're functioning beyond their capacity. Tyrese's video comes not long after the singer and actor revealed that he feels liberated after his divorce from ex-wife Samantha Gibson was finalized. In a post shared on Instagram last month, he alleged he endured almost $50 million worth of public scrutiny, PR damage, and reputational attacks that were tied to divorce and child support battles the whole world got to witness. In an interview on TD Jake's podcast NXT Chapter, Tyrese said that he related to Halle Berry, who recently said that she's not ready for marriage again anytime soon because of several divorces she went through. Gibson shared that his girlfriend of 5 years, Zelly Timothy, is often hinting at marriage, but due to his divorce from Samantha Gibson, he suffered a huge financial blow. You don't know what it's like to wake up, get married, have a prenuptial agreement in place, have the prenup get cracked where you end up paying all of her legal fees and my legal fees. And now I'm paying all this money to attorneys trying to protect what I have. And then they try to take everything that belongs to you with them. And it is a really painful process. So here is another episode in the ongoing Tyrese unmutes on social media saga.
Mm-mm-mm.
I want you to make the decision. I want you to take care of yourself. I want you to do something uncomfortable, which is put your face mask on first before trying to help others. I know it's uncomfortable because the thought is, well, if the plane is going down, I got to put the face mask on the kids. I got to take care of my wife. I got to take care of my husband. I got to take care of everybody and make sure everybody is okay. Everybody's okay, right? I'm f***ed up. I have nothing left, and I've taken care of everybody, and I got nothing left. And does anybody care to notice? Hello? Does anybody care to notice that I got nothing left for me? I ain't got nothing financially. Does anybody want to pour into me the way I've poured into everybody? Does anybody want to ask me if I need any food or groceries? Or y'all just gonna keep eating everything in the fridge, even when you got money and you can put food in the fridge? You don't do it because you're so used to bleeding me dry.
Damn.
This year, we have to do it differently. You've heard me say this before, and I'll say it again. Loyalty has an expirational date. You can't continue holding on to dead weight, right? Because every boat has a capacity. And the reason that you are out of it and you're wiped out and you're tired and you're depleted and you don't feel fulfilled is because you're continuing to function beyond your capacity. Literally, think about this. I don't care if it's a Carnival Cruise Line ship, them huge boats. Every boat has a capacity. Your life has a capacity, and most of us are continuing to function beyond the scope of our capacity. And we got nothing left for ourselves. Giving your time, your energy, your bandwidth, your money, your resources, your relationships, your wisdom, your knowledge, your this, your that. And I'm not saying be selfish in a negative way. I'm saying be selfish in the capacity of putting your face mask on first to make sure that you're okay first. And
Well, they say when you're on a plane, the right thing to do is to put your face mask on first, secure your own well-being so that you can be physically able to secure the well-being of others. So, um, but yeah, man, Tyrese, what do you make? What do you think about that, man? Tyrese, the guy, it just feels like the guy's just. I think the guy's just gonna be in pain the rest of his life, man. I don't know.
You know what? I think he is, and I think it's for good reason. And I'm not I'm not saying that he deserves this. What I'm saying is, he's going through the fire so others don't have to. Okay, and this, uh, although he's crying about the same situation, this is much different than that first one where he was actually defeated. In this one, it sounds as though he went to the mountaintop. He talked to the burning bush, and his burning bank account. And then one thing he said, and one thing he realized from that journey, is that self-preservation is everything, especially in his world. But I'll just keep it regular. You do need to look out for yourself. And I agree with this message. I think people do need to be a little more selfish. Hold on now. Now there's a lot of selfish people in this world. Actually, I think there's too many selfish people in this world. All right. I'm talking to the people that aren't selfish, the selfless people, which everybody gets labeled as the nice people, the good girl, the good guy. And everybody knows that these good people get the short end of the stick. Everybody knows that these good people finish last. But why is it that these people finish last and get the short end of the stick? It's because they gave up the part of themselves that would help them finish first. And they gave that up for moral or whatever adulation. But it actually, that currency doesn't keep you a person fulfilled. So I think his point there of him saying, especially with a moment where he said that, you don't feel fulfilled, you have to live out your dreams, your path, your vision. And the longer you're doing that and you're preserving and protecting that vision and whatever, then others can't come into your world and try to destroy it. Even if they come in like a Trojan horse, like this woman apparently did in this guy's life. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of red flags, but everybody can't see red flags, or everybody don't move the right way on red flags. But if somebody comes in your life trying to Trojan horse you, they was on their best behavior when they was in a probation period, but now that they got the job, they're showing their ass. Okay, I think a lot of us have gone through that in life. All right. So whenever you are experiencing that, how much of yourself are you giving to that person that is trying to ruin your life? Because the more you give them, the more they can ruin your life. So there's a level of this, of self-preservation, of trying to protect yourself or protecting yourself from evils of this world, if you will. So I think more people that are on the nice side of the spectrum do need to be a little bit more selfish, because they think being selfish is a bad thing. Well, everything you do is selfish. You going to sleep at night because you're tired is self-preservation. You waking up in the morning and going number one or number two is self-preservation. Okay. So if somebody comes into your life, asks you to do a favor that you don't feel like doing right now, and you decide to do that to be a good person is not self-preservation. So part of that self-preservation is if you don't feel like doing this, don't go do that because you don't have the bandwidth to actually do that or X, Y, or Z. But you want to be a good person for moral reasons, overextend yourself. And as he said, put yourself beyond capacity, which breaks your own internal powerhouse factory to give you the will to do the things that you need to do for yourself. So the more you give to others, the less you give to yourself. Then you wonder why you're depressed. Then you wonder why you're in a bad relationship. Then you wonder why you're in divorce court getting taken it out the cleaners for millions of dollars. So I agree with his point, and I think he actually has gone to the mountaintop and seen how crazy this can get, and came back with tablets. So I think that this is actually a good story from Tyrese, even though he's seems a little bit broken. I think his message is shining through clearly to me. But what are your thoughts, man, on Mr. Gibson here trying to at least seem to close the chapters on his saga here with his advice? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I agree with Tyrese here. I am team Tyrese. I believe in this regard, there's two types of people in the world. There are people who are in position to provide because they're able to provide for themselves. And there are people who are extractors, people who don't know how to build and provide for themselves, but what they are proficient at is extracting resources from others and being a user, a leech, as they say.
Yeah.
And those two individuals speak entirely different languages. People who are providers speak the same language and they understand, having been in the position to be leached off of by a user at some point in their life. I don't know a single person who's not a leech who hasn't been leached off of by someone disguising themselves as a friend or somebody who cares about them at some point in their life. So I agree with Tyrese 100%. And I think what happens is people who are extractors, they're very good at creating a narrative in which you feel as though if you aren't helping or providing assistance, that you are disappointing them, letting them down, and not doing right by them or the relationship that you have with them.
Yes.
And when they start to play these psychological mind games with you, it is incumbent upon you to recognize that that is a scare tactic and that you shouldn't listen to it, because those are the whims of an individual who can't care for themselves, and so they need you in order to be able to be taken, in order to be able to live and take care of. And these individuals have more than one person that they extract resources from. They tend to have a rotating cadre of people that they routinely turn to, and at different points in their relationship with these individuals, the provider gets fed up and moves on. And so when that happens, you have to have the backup. Who can I now turn to fill that void so that I can continue to have a person who can give me things when I am in need? The problem, of course, is you're always in need. So you're always going to be somebody to whom another person needs to provide for. And if they choose to turn the faucet off on you, you reserve the right to complain about it and say they turned on you, or they're not as good as you thought they were, or they're not the kind of person that you believe them to be. It's all psychological BS. And I have experienced this twice in my life. So I can attest to what Tyrese is saying as fact. It's funny. I had a friend years and years ago. He and I got into this debate about Jay-Z one day. You know how I feel about Jay-Z. He's not a Jay-Z fan. Needless to say, he's not a Jay-Z fan. And one of the lines that he cited as evidence to why he doesn't like Jay-Z was a line off of the intro track off Blueprint 3, where Jay-Z says, "Grown men want me to sit them on my lap, but I don't have a beard and Santa Claus ain't black. I repeat, I repeat, something like they want me to sit them on my lap, but I don't have a beard and I'll get off my sack." Basically, what Jay-Z was saying was, bro, I'm not your provider. Like, you want me to be the person who gives you this opportunity or gives you this money or puts you on this song, put yourself on. You're a grown man. you're responsible for your own career. It was basically talking about Beanie Siegel back when they was going back and forth, because for a while Beanie Siegel was always blaming Jay-Z for the fact that his career never took off the way he thought it should. So, Beanie Siegel's career never panned out. Beanie Siegel was never a superstar. Beanie Siegel never took accountability for that. He was always blaming Jay-Z, saying it's Jay-Z's fault. And so Jay-Z was like, hey, bro, I don't get off my sack. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not Santa Claus. Do what you got to do. My point in bringing that up is I found it very interesting that he chose to harp on that lyric as evidence to why he doesn't like Jay-Z, when he is the very person who's always sitting on somebody's lap asking for stuff. This was an individual who I, allowed into my home at the time. I would feed him if he needed food. The guy would ask me for money. I would give him money, never ask for it back. His license would get suspended. I'd give him rides to and from his house. His tag would expire. I would pick him up, give him rides to and from the bar. All of these things I did for this guy. I never asked for a dime of gas money. I was always giving, and he was always taking. And for years, I did it because I thought, I should. I'm a good person. I'm a nice person. That's what a nice person is supposed to do. Correct. But it took years for me to realize this person is an extractor. And at no point in our relationship will I ever need him more than he needs me.
Yes.
Ever. At no point in our relationship will I ever need him as much as he needs me. I'll never need him to give me a ride. I'll never need him to loan me money. I'll never need him to give me food that he cooked, ever, because I do those things for myself, because I'm self-sufficient. So I'm never going to need to sit on somebody's lap. But here you go, the guy who's always sitting on somebody's lap asking for stuff, and you got a problem with a rapper talking about how he's tired of other people always asking him for stuff. Well, go figure. You're the guy who's always asking for stuff.
Yes.
That's why you have a problem with it. Needless to say, he and I aren't friends anymore. I had to cut him off for my own self-preservation, because he was always extracting me for resources. Always. So the guilt trip that these leeches will play on you is this idea that if you don't do for them when they are in need, you're doing a disservice to the relationship. The problem is they're always in need, and they will never address the fact that they're always in need. So I don't know if that's the dynamic that Tyrese had going on with his ex-wife, but his words speak to this idea that you need to recognize when someone is doing that to you, and you need to act accordingly. Because if you allow them, they'll keep asking.
Yeah.
And they'll keep asking, and they'll keep
a bottomless pit, bro.
Yeah. they'll keep asking because they know you can. Because they know you can. They'll keep asking. So I'm Team Tyrese on this 1,000%. He told no lies.
No, I agree with you, man. Because I've had my bouts with leeches, man. Coming up through school, people that I thought were friends. No, they just knew I had all of the supplies and all the answers. So asking to use my stuff, asking to eat some of my lunch. All of that stuff, and me having this I'm a good person thing. Yeah, bro. But that's what they look for. That is the equivalent of a gazelle with a broken leg. It's trailing the rest of the group. It's easy prey for these people, and so they can spot you from a mile away. They just give you a few test indicators, and they say this person has a conscience. This person actually thinks being a good person means something. Let me run them through the ringer. All right. And honestly, bro, and this is why, every once in a while, man, I'll come across some Machiavellian quotes, bro. Bro was on game, bro, with a lot of this stuff, because a lot of people take morality too far.
Yeah.
They take it too far, and they take it so far that it hurts them. So, and one of the things people have to get over is that I'm a good person thing, because you can be a good person, but you have to redefine what a good person is. And you have to have your definition of what a good person is. And just because you told this person no does not make you a bad person. And that's why some people struggle to tell people no, because they don't want to come off as X, Y, or Z. No, the reason why this person's asking you this and nobody else does is because this person doesn't have a conscience. And they're trying to put you in a position for you to be too scared to say no. So you got to go through that in life. And like I said, I can't imagine how that is as somebody who is in their 20s and the 30s and stuff like Tyrese was, with millions of dollars and having this complex that I got to be a good person.
Yeah.
That's how you get taken to the cleaners for millions of dollars, is because you got this weird complex. So I think he's seen enough. I think he's went through the ringer enough. And like I said, came back with tablets, basically telling people like, hey, bro, I went through it because I had these little things going and I didn't take care of myself first.
Yeah.
And so, hey, man, I agree with it. It's a fine line you got to toe in life, but your real friends and the real loved ones won't test you. And that's when that was one thing that I did realize, because me moving away from my family, living in different areas with different people, getting to know different people, seeing different types of things, and then coming back to my family, for get-togethers or whatever, texting, talking or whatever, they want absolutely nothing from me.
Yes.
They don't want anything from me. And they don't put me through nothing, none of this weird stuff. And then I was like, you know what? This is what love is.
Yeah.
And if I get missing for 2 months because it's X, Y, or Z or whatever, and then all of a sudden I pop on the scene and I say hi to them, they don't sit there and run me through the ringer of where I was. They just happy I'm here.
Yeah.
So the same thing goes for these people out here in the world that impose all their weird ass boundaries on you, always asking you to do this. Hey, my real friendship is this. Hey, blah, 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 all these weird definitions and stuff. No, they just do that to guilt trip you into doing stuff that you don't want to do, that nobody else wanted to do for their ass, and they can't even do for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, for me, the best barometer for people that I want around me are people that don't want nothing from me. Because guess what? I don't want nothing from the people that's around me. So that's how I live my life, and that's my barometer. That's how I get people kicked out. And by the way, last side note, when you're talking about Beanie Siegel, I was like, hey man, Beanie, he had the thing going on, man. But my favorite song from him was In the Club. It was In the Club. And you know why? Because our AI producer Timberland did that beat. That's what that was like one of my favorite beats back in the day, man. That beat was so insane, man. But shout out to Beanie Siegel, man. That was a good reference.
Listen, I like Beanie Siegel, but the dude was always blaming Jay-Z for his career problems.
No, he was.
Like, after a while, it was getting old. It's like, bro, like, accept responsibility. Like, bro, you got to put your own self in at some point. Like, you was on Rockefeller. You was doing state property. You was putting out albums. Like, you were there. So what's the deal? Now you falling on hard times with your career and everything's Jay-Z's fault not buying it.
Yeah, 2 Chainz went through the same thing with Ludacris. And look what 2 Chainz did. So you had the opportunity, you had the network connections, go make it happen yourself. And but a lot of these rap guys, as tough as they want to be, as real as they claim to be, did a lot of blaming to these people that stole their music, did this or did that, and didn't put me on, like all that stuff. So I agree with you, man. I never cared for those talking points either. So
yeah, and it's just, and this I'm gonna leave him nameless. This, but the guy that I'm talking about, this dude actually had the nerve to ask me to move into my place, right? So, I'm a relatively, at this point, I'm in my, at the time that he asked me this question, I'm in my mid-30s. Bro, I'm in my mid-30s. I have no interest whatsoever with living with anybody.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Unless you're my spouse.
Right.
Like I had already made up my mind at that point in my life.
No more
The next person that I am living with is my spouse. I'm not living with no more. I'm not doing roommates anymore, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a grown ass man. Don't come to me asking to live. Don't come to me asking to live with me. What is this? And this guy, and people push boundaries on you, these individuals. And he actually asked to live with me. So I told him no. I said
Yeah.
no, straight up. I was like, no, you can't live with me. No one's living with me. You included. No one's living with me. Sorry, find somebody else. He went on his pity tour and started talking about me to other people we knew.
That's what they
Mutual,
do.
yeah, mutual friends.
Mhm.
I lost so much respect for him after that. It's
Mhm.
like, bro, you going around after everything I've done for you, you're really going to go to mutual friends throwing my name through the dirt because I won't let you live with me, which is something that I have the right to do.
Right.
You need me.
Right.
I'm the one who built this. You know what I'm saying? I got my resources together to get this place. That's my furniture. That's my paint on the walls. This is my stuff. You want to come into my space. And when I tell you no, because you ain't got nothing, you going to talk to mutual friends about what I'm doing to mistreat you. The audacity of these people. So, that was the beginning and the end. And me and him never had the same relationship again. And I never, to this day, we aren't friends anymore. We don't talk. And for good reason. And so I hear where he's coming from. You have to recognize these wretches when they come in, when they for real. Like you have to recognize these wretches when they come into your midst. And you gotta ward them off. I don't know, you gotta, light a sage candle, whatever you got to do, but you got to keep them out your way because they will drag you down if you let them. They will.
100%, man. Hey, shout out to Tyrese, the philosopher. Hey, man. No, I agree with you 100%, man. And the last thing I'll say is that to speak on your point where they're going to try to, put dirt on your name. I used to care about that too. If I tell people no, they're going to go tell people this. But you know what? I had to be comfortable. I had a cousin, man. He told me this a long time ago, and it really dawned on me. He was much older. He could have qualified to be an uncle, but he told me, he said, you got to be comfortable with being the bad guy.
Yeah.
And I did not know what that meant, but I went through enough situations where it dawned on me, well, why do I care if I'm the bad guy to people in that person's world? So I said, you know what? I don't care. So it got to the point where I said, go tell your friends.
Yeah.
And once they hear the story, they're probably going to pat you on the back, but they're going to know damn well that guy was just standing on business and taking care of himself.
Exactly.
So in the deepest recesses of your mind as a person, if you think that I did you wrong by me taking care of myself in this context, then you're a crazy person. But deep down, because you're playing with me.
That's right.
That I was standing on business and taking care of myself. So
That's
everybody loses in that context when you want to sit there and tell that narrative. And I win because I win the overall narrative thing because this is my world. And I go, you know what? I turned that person down while they were just trying to leech off my existence. So, you just got to be comfortable with being a bad guy. And sometimes it's called for. So, so to hell with it.
You're right, bro. And that's exactly what happened because when he went around doing that, a lot of them people came to me and they was like, why is bro talking like this? Like, because they already know I stand on business. So they came back to me and they was like, what is he talking about? Like, why is he even saying this stuff to me instead of y'all talking about that man to man? Like, why is he even doing that? That's weird energy. And I told him straight up, I said, hey, listen, I just told him something that he didn't want to hear. And now he's doing that straight up. Like I gave him his answer man to man. He couldn't handle it. And so here he comes telling y'all a false narrative. And clearly you see it's not true because you know the difference between me and him. So yeah, you're absolutely right, bro. And look, the line from The Dark Knight, truer words have never been spoken, man. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And when you're dealing with these wretches, if you let them extract you enough, they'll kill you.
Yes.
And now you treated them well in the process, so hence you died a hero because they love you for everything you did for them. Or you can take care of yourself and tell them no, but now they dragging your name through the mud. So now you've lived long enough to see yourself become a villain.
which is fine by me, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care
Yeah.
because I'm done letting these extractors
Yes.
leech off of me into perpetuity. Because as I said before, I will never need you as much as you need me ever. Hence, the favors will never need to be reciprocated because I don't need you to. So it's always a one-way street where you always need me for something. And
Mhm.
whenever you recognize stuff like that, you have to turn your back on them. And you're right to do it because they don't deserve it and they'll never return it and they'll never return the favor.
Hey man, shout out to all my good people out there in the world, man. And I know if you're watching the Conscious Approach, you guys already by default are the good people in the world. So shout out to y'all, man. And these extractors, man, y'all need to kick rocks. But hey, man, they're busy, man. The devil never gets rest.
Yes.
So stay safe, y'all.
They don't hear you because they're too busy extracting.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, shouts out to Marcus Dudley on the chat, my brother.
Oh yeah,
Marcus, my man, Marcus Dudley.
Chill. Oh man.
Now we have a funny story involving T.I. and America's #1 internet troll 50 Cent. So T.I., to anyone who is unaware, is he's embarked on this career as a stand-up comedian. And 50 Cent, being the troll that he is, kind of went off and made fun of T.I., posting a video of T.I. apparently bombing at one of his stand-up sets. And so the internet's getting a good laugh out of this. This says 50 Cent roast T.I. over stand-up comedy struggles. T.I. is the latest rapper to be targeted by 50 Cent and his social media shenanigans. The Atlanta rap legend has made an unlikely pivot into the world of stand-up comedy in recent years, but it appears the G-Unit general is not impressed by his comedic talents. In a since-deleted Instagram post, 50 shared a clip of T.I. seemingly bombing on stage during his recent Cheaper Than Therapy comedy special while delivering a joke about friend and collaborator Young Thug. Fifth captioned the not-so-flattering clip, which some have suggested was edited to drown out the crowd's laughter, by writing, "Damn it, man. It looked easy, but it's not easy at all. LOL." 50 Cent didn't stop there. He later posted a second clip of T.I. getting booed at a 2022 comedy show at Brooklyn's Barclays Center and joked, "Oh, I didn't know it was going like this, bro. Why he think he can do that? LOL." It's unclear what prompted 50's playful ribbing of T.I., but this is not the first time that there has been friction between the two. Back in 2020, the rap veterans traded jabs after Tip challenged Fifth to a versus battle, a matchup that many fans were keen to see. "Pull your ass up, man, with 20 of your records and sit across from me and get this work," T.I. said. "But I understand if you don't want to answer to that challenge because last time you got challenged, Kanye West dusted your ass off, so you might not want to do that." In typically troll-worthy fashion, 50 responded by posting Tip's controversial Crime Stoppers commercial from the late 2000s, along with a snippet of G-Unit song "You So Tough." "Why you make me do this, nigga?" Yeah, Michael Jackson's voice. This the first song I'm gonna play. This the first song I'm gonna play "You So Tough," Terminate on Sight, one of 50 Cent's albums. No, that was a G-Unit album, Terminate on Sight. So here is the clip that 50 Cent posted where he was ribbing T.I., talking about how stand-up comedy look easy, but it's not that easy.
The man was fighting a Rico. A fucking Rico. I'm sorry. Hey, white people, Young Thug is a rapper. He from Cleveland Avenue. And his name don't sound like much, you know what I'm saying? But he's held in high regard within the community, okay? He's a national treasure, all right? Yes. Responsible for many Negro spirituals. You hear me?
Now, I will say, as somebody who's done his fair share of video editing, it does appear as though that was altered to drown out background noise. So
Yeah.
now that does not mean that he was being funny.
Correct. Right.
So let's make sure we make that clear. That doesn't mean that T.I. was funny. It just means that it does appear as though background noise was edited out of that clip. But what do you make of 50 Cent ribbing T.I. over his stand-up comedy?
I think it's totally warranted. I saw the clip of him doing stand-up. I thought it was AI. So I was like, oh, why is T.I. trying to do a comedy set? Like, what's going on here? Then I started doing some probing, and I was like, he's really up on stage. Like, he's really doing. Why is he doing? I said the same thing 50 said. Like, why is he doing that? I also said it looks easy, but it ain't. Like, what are you doing? I know a lot of funny people. We went to school with funny people, man. It'll just be funny people because they're funny people. Just excellent timing. They'll say something completely out of left field. Like, how does your brain even think like that? But there's a ton of funny people in the world. All right. They don't qualify to be comedians. As funny as you could. Being a comedian is an art form.
Yeah.
And so you can't just dive into that in your mid 40s, whatever this guy is. And I'm not trying to be ageist. What I'm trying to get at is, from what I just saw right there, it doesn't look like he does. I mean, I'm sure he did, but it doesn't look like he, did the beat where he was actually out there in small comedy clubs. It's not being recorded. It's not some special. He's out there really, earning his stripes, out there in the comedy world, doing these little hole in the wall shows. Like, I don't think he did. It looks like he just jumped straight into this, head first with specials. And it's just like, T.I., how you just hop into the game with specials? Like, you got to be on your game. Like, if you hear any comedian talk about how to develop a set for a special, like, it is a painstaking process where you have to go on the road, and try all of your jokes in various fashions, reword things, do this because it bombed over there. You put this on, it's a whole thing. So you want to sit there and you want to create a classic album musically. You know how much work that takes as far as how much conceptual things, the story, everything from top to bottom in order to create your classic musically. So why would you think it was sweet to create a classic set as a comedian? Negro spirituals. Hey, white community. How deep did you go, bro? Like, what is this? And this is 100% the side effect of yes man syndrome. There's too many people around T.I. that tells him yes all the time. That's the only reason why he's on stage embarrassing himself right now, or in 2020, whenever the hell he was doing it initially. To me, to each their own. Live your best life out here, anybody in the world. And if you're T.I. and you have the platform to be a comedian and have your own special set, I'm not telling you can't do it. But what I can say is it sucked. And the last thing I'll say is there's clips out there from, I think it's from Big Bang Theory, where they removed the laugh track from the show and they just play clips. When the only reason why you're laughing is about how bad these jokes really are, and how none of them land, like, at all. And then so what makes those compilations so funny is that it's not funny. So if you want to be ironically funny, T.I., continue your comic career.
Yeah, be laughed at, not laughed with.
Because honestly, the only reason why I would look at another T.I. thing where he's attempting comedy is to initially cringe, laugh because it's not good, then cringe again, and then flip the video. But what are your thoughts, man, on Tip Harris, Mr. 411 call the feds, as 50 Cent mentioned? What are your thoughts on T.I. becoming a comedian all of a sudden? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, all of those old school sci-fi movies that were cult classics, they were popular because of how bad they are.
Yes.
Not because of how good they are. It's almost like watching a train wreck. Like, it's like I can't really turn away. I want to continue to watch this to see how much more bad it can be. Listen, let me say this. I respect T.I. I respect where he has arrived to with his career. I do. I respect T.I. for the work that he's put in and where he has arrived to in his career. And I also respect him for wanting to try something new, different, however you want to say it. I respect people who do those things. However, what I don't respect is people who try to branch off into new ventures via skipping steps. So for me, for me, even though on the one hand I can say I respect where he's coming from with wanting to do this, I also feel that it is a legitimate criticism if I or anyone else says that this feels Jake Paul-ish. Like Jake Paul's rise to prominence in terms of boxing as an exhibitionist. That's what T.I. doing comedy. It's almost like T.I. is an exhibitionist comedian, where you're because I agree with you 1000%. Established 20, 30, 40-year-old veteran comedians still play the comedy club beat. Right? They're still practicing their set at Laugh Factory and all of these various other clubs, these comedy clubs in New York City. They go unannounced. Kevin Hart, I'm not a Kevin Hart fan in terms of stand-up comedy, but Kevin Hart still does this. Before you see a Kevin Hart Netflix special, he's practiced that set like 15, 20, 30 times in small comedy clubs across the country.
Correct.
Chappelle does the same thing. And these are legitimate comedians. So if he's not doing that and he's just bursting onto the scene with his own specials, then as a person who believes in preserving the sanctity of art forms and crafts, and we've talked about this with various other topics on the channel, I'm offended by that. So am I losing sleep over this? No, of course I don't lose sleep over T.I. trying to be a stand-up comedian. Of course not. But if you were to ask me my opinion, I am going to give you an opinion on it that is very similar to the opinion that I have of Jake Paul as a boxer, which is it is an exhibitionism sideshow. And I do not put it into the category of others who have perfected and gained a certain level of proficiency with this craft over decades and decades and years of repetition and practice. So no, I don't respect Jake Paul as a boxer because I have too much respect for all of the other boxers who came up on the amateur circuit and who did the Olympics and who fought on all of these undercards before they started headlining their own pay-per-views.
Correct.
If I respect that as a track for becoming a professional boxer, why the hell would I respect Jake Paul? Of course I don't.
Right.
And I don't live in this world where I develop new definitions of like the traditional way of coming up and rising up to prominence in a particular craft. I have a set in stone perception of what that means. If you are a golfer, you've been golfing since you was 5, 6 years old, you were competing in amateur tournaments, you were on the amateur circuit, you eventually got to the PGA Tour, and now you won a certain amount of PGA Tour matches, and now you can qualify for majors like the Masters and whatnot. You can't be some run-of-the-mill golfer, jump out here and try to be a pro, and now you're finna be in a major. It don't work like that.
Right.
And I don't acknowledge any golfers that make it through the cutting room floor that didn't go through those rigors, because I have more respect for the golfers who did go through the rigors. And I have respect for the comedians who went for the rigors. I have respect for the boxers who went through the rigors. Rigors is an objective term. All right. I know we keep trying to create new rules for stuff with all of this social deconstruction. Going through the rigors to me has a clearly defined objective interpretation. You either went through them or you didn't. Period. So look, man, I got love for T.I. One of my favorites coming up. I got a lot of respect for his career. He did a lot of great things musically. I have a lot of respect for him. But this to me is exhibitionism comedy. It's exhibitionist comedy, in my opinion. And I feel that way only because of the tremendous amount of respect that I have for the litany of other comedians who went through the rigors and continue to do so. And I kind of feel like T.I. was able to parlay himself into this off of the back of his career in music. And the strength of his career, his musical empire, and everything that he built. His name is so big, he can cut through certain red tapes and kind of race to the finish line. And look, there may have been people who were laughing in that video, and the sound may have been edited out. I don't give a damn. That was not funny.
It wasn't good, dog.
It wasn't funny.
And I'm not trying. Listen, it's like, hey, because T.I. is definitely on amateur hour time. So I'm not going to try to compare him to the Jordan of it, and like Dave Chappelle or something like that. But I'm going to do that in this context, in the sense of you can remove audio from actual comedians' set where you don't hear the audience, their pitch, their delivery, the timing, the setup of the joke will make you laugh if you're listening. Like that was actually funny. Like I'd be hard pressed if I listened to whatever T.I. was saying for however long he was saying it, for me to actually go, that was actually good. Like I think I would be hard pressed. I don't think I will laugh once, unironically, because I will be laughing at him the entire time. And I don't think I don't know.
No, that's not what his goal is. No.
It can't be what his goal is, because he's Mr. Tough Guy, like 50 Cent said, and all of his bars, and he'll chop pies, flip bricks. You know what I'm saying? Like he's Mr. Tip, man. So why would you do that to your legacy? Now you can do what Boosie does, where Boosie has now embraced the fact that he's a social media presence and that he'll actually do comedy movies, because he's developed his own comedy movies where he's starring in it and stuff like that. And Boosie know that he's not a comedian, but he knows he's funny. Why don't you go do that, T.I.? Why don't you make a movie where you're the star of the movie, like it's Friday, like Ice Cube. Ice Cube ain't funny. He ain't no comedian, but he funny. You put him in the right context, Ice Cube will make you laugh.
Yeah.
So if you're funny, T.I., why don't you do something like that? Instead of trying to make people laugh for 30 minutes straight or however long it is. That's not easy to do, bro. There's a lot of bad comedians in the game right now.
Yeah.
Because people can't do that anymore.
And the bad comedians are funnier than T.I.
Which is disgusting. Well, honestly, it's disgusting that the comedy game right now.
Yeah.
Because the people that they're holding up to high esteem, I don't even remember their names. I can see their face or something and they're saying something. There's guys that I'll laugh at or whatever. In pockets. It was just that one joke that was funny. I don't want to watch your whole thing for 20 minutes or whatever. So there's people out there these comedians nowadays are really struggling, bro. And so, but like I said, and like you said, they're better than whatever T.I. is doing. So it has to be one of those things that I'm such a fanboy for T.I. that I'm going to sit here and support this thing by whatever, and whatever he says is funny, and it's that has to be the lane of the people that actually thought it was. Now women I can understand, but if there's a grown ass man, all right, that bought tickets to this show and was sitting there front row slapping their knees just so T.I. can see him laughing at, it's like, bro, what's your life about, bro?
I would imagine that the majority of the laughter was due to reverence for T.I. and what he's. I think the majority of the laughter was likely coming from a place of reverence towards him, not because just because it's T.I., the guy who made trap music and urban legend and king and did a lot of fly stuff musically and in the hip hop game. So I'm just gonna laugh out of respect for who he is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I agree with you, because it's not funny, but I just want to. I would hope that at least a portion of the people who were laughing hysterically at that were laughing. They were laughing just because it's him and he's doing it, not because it was actually funny.
I don't know, man. I've seen some comic view comics that would just blow that out of the water, man.
That's what I'm saying. You don't have to go. You don't have to go all the way to the top of the top. You don't have to mention. You don't have to mention Chappelle. You can mention people like Ali Sadiq. You know what I'm saying? Or even Michael Che, is that his name? The guy who I don't know if he's still on Saturday Night Live, but him or Dion Cole. So you don't even got to go to the top of the top. You can just go to people like that. Michael Collier, like it's just not even. It's not the same language. It's not the same language. So but again, man. A person who's a T.I. fan will probably say I'm being a hater here.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but I mean, funny is funny, and that was not it, bro.
Hey, sorry, man. And just come out with some movies, T.I., bro. Like the people would love to watch those.
Yeah.
And then you can exercise your funny in there because it seems like you were trying, bro. So if you think you're funny, bro, do it in a movie that'll have more stand power. People wouldn't laugh at you, and you wouldn't lose any street cred with that. But trying to sit there and be a comedian and the jokes ain't landing, it's gonna be hard for people to respect that personally.
Yeah. Hey man, you make a good point. T.I. is probably the guy who in the studio or in the house,
right.
when they kicking around and having a good time, he be saying some funny stuff.
Right.
He's probably one of those guys, but that doesn't amount to a one-to-one interpretation of good stand-up comedy. That is a whole different ball game, man. Bro. People, and I can go on for days about this. People need to start putting some respect on
comedians,
on comedians, and just high proficiency skill sets in general. Like we're getting to a point where we're just okay with not respecting art forms and crafts the way we should. Such as boxing. It's getting more and more aggravating the way we're getting to a point where everybody can just think they can just jump in and do anything. It's ridiculous.
So stupid, bro. Hey, but shout out to Atlanta. It's hard to shout you out, T.I., for that one, man. That's crazy.
And last but not least, we have Wiz Khalifa reacting to the revelation that his great-great-grandfather was a slave. And so his reaction to this is kind of a profound sense of discovery, but he also believes that in light of what he's achieved in his career, he feels like he would have made his ancestors proud. That's how he feels. So this says Wiz Khalifa discovers enslaved ancestor, thinks they'd be proud of him. Wiz Khalifa explored the painful history of one of his ancestors on the latest episode of PBS's Finding Your Roots. On the January 13th episode of the series, host Henry Louis Gates Jr. detailed the discovery of Wiz's fifth great-grandfather. So I'll say his fifth great-grandfather, Howard Williamson, who lived in Alabama in 1870 next door to a white family that shared the same surname. The chaotic rapper, real name Cameron Jabril Thomas, was surprised by Gates's finding his ancestor possibly being enslaved by his neighbors. I think I'm programmed to feel a little bit pissed, the rapper said about Thomas J. Williamson, the patriarch of the Williamsons, but just him owning my family just sounds crazy. That sounds wild. I feel some type of way about that. Gates also explained that Thomas J. Williamson kept a slave schedule which listed his human property by color, gender, and age instead of their names, with one entry being about a 14-year-old black male. Gates believed that this was Wiz's fifth great-grandfather. It's crazy to see him as a nameless person on a grid and to know how valuable that property is because it's a life and it's not actually a person. It's not actually property, it's a person. The Pittsburgh native called it a reality check, but added that his fifth great-grandfather didn't resist building his own family and legacy. In adulthood, Wiz's ancestor worked as a tenant farmer, and although he was freed, Williamson wouldn't achieve economic independence. Elsewhere, it was found that Williamson registered to vote despite dangers that black voters faced after the Civil War. Wiz's ancestor would ultimately have at least 7 children and 20 grandchildren before his lineage reached the multi-platinum and diamond RIAA certified rapper. I think they would be freaking proud, Wiz said about his 5th great grandfather's hypothetical reaction to his success. They'd be proud that I own some stuff for myself. They'd be proud of the attitude that I carry, the confidence that I have, the love that I have for my family, the appreciation that I have for what they've done. He continued, and even I feel all of them around me. I just don't know who they are. So now I'm able to say their name, so that just makes it even better. Elsewhere in the episode, as the Griot reports, Wiz discovered that his grandfather, Willie Wimbush Jr., made the Great Migration from the South to Pittsburgh around 1955. So there's a Wiz Khalifa with a little bit of self-discovery with some help from PBS's Finding Your Roots. What do you make of his reaction to this discovery?
Yeah, I'm happy for the young man. I'm happy that he was able to get that that information, because and you guys can, all relevant links will be in the description. But if you guys watch the clip, he's being whiz about it, but at the same time, you can see some wheels spinning in his brain of, when he's saying that that's crazy that people actually owned him. It kind of registers. So you can see that, and then from the words that he said there, in a sense of, like he was an actual person, but they were treating him like property, like, he's just a name on a grid. The connection that people have with their ancestors I can't put that into words enough of how important that is. You don't need to know about the slavery portion, but if you're going to know about your ancestors and you're coming from that lineage, you're going to hear about the slavery chapter. But just hearing about your ancestors and hearing that the journey that they went through, like he said, it connects you to them. Like, of course, you had a great grandfather 5 times over. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have one. But not having that connection with that, you're pretty much doomed to do any damn thing. And one of those things that people like to talk about, as far as you need to know who you are so you can, do the best in your life or whatever. If you go to a therapist, they track your life from when you were a young person to where you are right now and try to piece together life traumas and the things that went left or right for you to help you right now. So people are literally their past. But if you are literally your past, that means you are also literally your ancestors. And if you don't know the chapters of your own personal life from ages 0 to 13, and the only memory that you have of yourself is as a 13-year-old, you got complete amnesia of all that other stuff, and then you are doing all of this wild stuff as an adult, one would guess that, hey, I'm just a wild ass person. But you had your memory erased for the first 13 years of your life. And if you actually had access to those first 13 years of your life, you can see exactly where you picked up all these wild ass tendencies from. And by having a history of yourself, it now changes your perspective of yourself in your own personal life. So if people just cut off their own personal life as my own personal life and don't look back at their ancestors, don't have that connection with their ancestors, then they are doomed to repeat what their ancestors did. So it's very important to have a connection with ancestry. And I believe that, and I have very strong reasons to believe that people's ancestries are forgotten intentionally. Okay, that was actually one of the tenets of slavery, was to remove ancestry, to remove connections from previous generations, because connections to previous generations means that those people are carrying on a likeness, a set of principles and values that would make them stand-up people. So if you remove those principles and values, and the people that that passed them on from you, you are that 13-year-old person with amnesia and now crashing out and in juvenile detention and doing all this wild stuff. So women nowadays, all right, that making these box rap songs, these prostitute songs, the sex worker music, these young dudes out here that are making trapping songs and gangster anthems, and Ti standing on stage doing comedy. This is because these people don't know who their ancestors are. So this could be looked at as a nice, tear shedding moment for anybody that's personally a Wiz Khalifa fan or somebody that's personally into ancestry.com or PBS. But I really think that this is a highlighting moment because you can see if you watch the clip or if you just hear what his words were saying, that there was a light bulb going off in his brain thinking that a 14-year-old young man in slavery quarters was actually his great grandfather 5 years, 5 times over. And that young man who was living on somebody else's property had the wherewithal to create a lineage of people that he's now a part of. And that gives him a richer opinion of himself right now in his 30s. So I think that this is important. These ancestry sites are what they are. But if you do have a connection to grandfathers or grandmothers or whoever, people that you can actually talk to and ask and, try to trace things out, I think that would also be a nice way to try to connect with yourself personally. But what are your thoughts on Wiz Khalifa finding out about his ancestors back in the slavery days? What are your thoughts, bro?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said there. And good to him for learning that. I think every person, every human really, but if I'm going to be intentional here with my point, specifically every black person owes it to themselves to do their due diligence at some point in their life to try to trace their lineage and learn what were some of the customs and rites of passages and uh, you know, forefathers that were responsible for why their present day lineage. I think I think all black people should engage in that kind of fact finding at some point, personally, in my opinion. And I remember when a while back there was a topic where we discussed Cameron and Mace on their show. It is what it is, and Cameron got into talking about how he does not identify as African American for XYZ. And so they weren't debating because Mace wasn't really disagreeing. They were just kind of going back and forth with clarifying how they perceive that kind of term, African American. And Cameron was saying, well, he just doesn't identify as such because he doesn't have any sort of ancestral connection to Africa. Therefore, the designation of African American is something that does not resonate with him. So he prefers to just identify himself as like Black American or something like that. And, a lot of people online took exception to that, felt as though it was being disrespectful towards what it means to call oneself an African American in this country. But from my standpoint, I totally understood it. I felt as though, for me, it was a galaxy brain point of view of not identifying as African American is not a big deal, in my opinion, because everyone, especially Black people in this country, come from somewhere else. And if you had the ability to really sit down and trace this stuff back and figure out what your original heritage is, you would learn where that somewhere else is. And at that point, you can make an informed decision as to whether, as an adult who is conscientious of the world, you can adopt some of those rituals and customs and rites of passages inherent in whatever your lineage is based upon that discovery. And at that point, if that entails you no longer identifying as African American, I have zero problems with that whatsoever. And so was he getting at it from that standpoint? Not necessarily. But what I was suggesting was I'm not that offended by him saying I don't look at myself as African American, because at the end of the day, we all have a heritage. We all have a lineage. And the key is whether enough of us do enough of a fact-finding discovery mission to figure out what that is. And the more people who undergo that fact-finding self-discovery mission, the better.
Mhm.
Because one thing that you like to allude to a lot, well, you don't allude to it, you say it flatly. But one thing that you like to say flatly is culture is very important when it comes to the preservation of rituals and customs and rites of passage, which have a lot to do with your country and language of origin and all of that good stuff. And a lack of an understanding of what that means for you means that in a lot of ways you can end up directionless in life depending on certain decisions that you make.
Exactly. Yes.
So I agree with that. And I think that it is incumbent upon every individual to learn what those rituals and rites of passages are so that you can retain some identity of yourself that is independent of how much money you make.
Yes.
Or whatever other worldly material possessions you have. So that stuff is important. And even though Wiz Khalifa is somebody who makes a lot of money and he's financially free, I don't want to say that just because a person is rich, that they no longer need to know that about themselves. That's still an important element of oneself that is, in my opinion, crucial to being able to formulate a well-rounded identity. So I think it's good that he was able to figure that out. And I only hope that the rest of us, myself included, can set the time aside at some point to do that for themselves. Because I fully intend to do it for myself. I've been saying that I was going to do this for years, and it's still something that I fully intend to do. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So, you know, I said 1,000 times. I even think I said it on this stream on one of our topics. I think it may have been the first one, that race is more of a cultural construct than it is about actual skin color or culture or customs or rituals or family legacy. Those two things are separate. Like when you get into this whole thing about race, that's basically about the way that you've been socialized given your immediate environment and some of the things that you have to deal with as a result of that. But when you're talking about actual identity and heritage, that's a whole different ball game. And that is language and country of origin and rituals and rites of passages. And so it's irresponsible to conflate the two because one is a hard and fast genetic predisposition while the other one is a matter of socialization. And even though the two can be correlated to a certain degree, they should remain mutually exclusive in terms of what one has to do with the other. So like you should figure that out for yourself. Everybody should. So, you know, good for him, man. I'm glad that he was able to figure that out. And I hope the same for the rest of us, man, because we all owe it to ourselves to do the same thing.
Absolutely, bro. And also to add to your point of, you know, customs and, you know, rituals and stuff like that, it also does something to the individual psychologically once they find out how strong their ancestors were. Just by you being here meant your ancestors were strong in the first place. But, you know, for people out there, you know, you got to think that, you know, somewhere up there, either, you know, the grandmothers or the grandfathers or whoever, or both, you know, spent time on a boat and they made it over here when other people died. There were holding cells where people were dying in those holding cells.
Yeah.
Then there was people that was held on those boats. And then there was people that didn't make it off those boats. Then there was people that got off those boats that had diseases and other stuff and died. And then there was and for you to make it through all of that.
That's right.
Those were some strong people.
Yeah.
And so to know that, damn, like you just transport yourself back. Cause I've done these exercises where it's just like, damn, I'm whoever, you know what I'm saying? Back in those days when it's just like, damn, I'm on a boat. I'm on a boat. I mean, like it's going crazy. Like, and he made it. People scratching the walls of the thing. I ain't trying to get crazy here. I'm just trying to say, like, you got to go through that yourself. At least me personally, I go through those exercises occasionally to remind myself how strong the people before me were and how much responsibility I have right now as a person for those people that went through those types of things. And for me to be sitting around here right now, scratching my ass and doing all this other stuff, it's just like, are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? that those people literally gave everything they had to see tomorrow. And because they did that, I'm here now and I'm scratching my ass in the corner and crying about syntax. I need to button up as a person. So that's what I said. It gives people to know about your ancestors. And even if you don't have the privilege or the ability or whatever, like I said, at least for me personally, it works for me to do these exercises of trying to connect with the people that did come before you and try to simulate and just to know that what it had to take for you to be here, it gives you a level of strength and a level of service to do other things. So this is the importance of eradicating the connection between people and their ancestors. That's why ancestor talk isn't really talked about in North America. People talk about it in these, you know, romantic ways, but there's no actual connection, and the actual connection is not taught. So for people out there that actually try to have that, I think it will enrich your personal life experience. It puts things in perspective because you got running electricity, you know what I'm saying, heated toilets for some of y'all out there. All right. Well, y'all got life going great. All right. So it just makes you have a little bit more gratitude about whatever you got going on, at least for me personally. So I think a story like this, again, it promotes these ancestry sites where could go a little either this way or that way, because there's all kinds of debate about that. But I still think that it's important, as you mentioned, to just try your best to try to figure out as much and as far back as you can. And if it stops at great grandfather or great grandmother, so be it. Because, you know, as far as back as I can touch, I think I can go back 3 grandfathers. I think that's about as far as I can go. But even me hearing those stories helped me out a ton. So just figuring out whatever you can. And yeah, I think this is a good story. I think it's pretty solid.
I agree, man. I do. Yeah. It serves as a good example. I think everyone at some point owes it to themselves to trace back their lineage and just gain a better semblance of what their actual heritage is. There's nothing wrong with that. So, you know, for the people out there that want to continue to stick to the idea of being African American, that's cool. And to the people out there who want to learn about these things so that they can better identify what they want to be, despite what census bubble they are mandated to fill in, that's cool too. So, you know, whatever floats your boat, but I do think learning about heritage is important personally. I really do. I always have. Yeah, so shouts out to Wiz on that. You know, Wiz has never been somebody who you know came across my radar in any negative ways in particular. He's always kind of just laid back in the cut.
He's out the way, bro.
Yeah, he's out the way.
With all that Amber Rose stuff, bro, he was pretty much out the way, bro.
Yeah, and he got out of there. You see what he did? He got out of there.
With it though. He had a jet with it though. But
he did, but at least he got out of there, and he's clean. He living clean now. He living clean now. You look at what she doing, hopping up on MAGA stages, looking crazy,
clapping ass for MAGA. Unbelievable, bro.
Hooray, shouts out to Wiz, man. And shouts out to us, and shouts out to everybody who tuned in on the stream. Major appreciation as we close out on another fantastic episode, dare I say so myself. Once again, Apple Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Check us out on those relevant podcast networks. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at ConApproach, ConApproach. Thank you very much for continuing to hit that like button, leave the comments. We got a lot of people, well, not a lot, well, a lot for our channel at least, giving their 2 cents about Andre 3000 either being overrated or not. That was very fun to read through that. But yeah, keep it coming, man, because we're growing this community out. We love doing this, and we just love generating interesting conversation, whether you think we're right or wrong or indifferent. It's all good. But until next time, as I always like to say, folks, don't be a group thinker. Have a mind of your own. Think for yourself. And until next time, thank you very much for the support. Can't wait to catch you on the next video.
And the name is Dogon SS. Skr. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS, on YouTube, DraftKings, MySpace, Meta, Facebook, Twitter. Hey, man, if there's a social media platform, Dogon_SS is also out there. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow, and all that good jazz. And thank you guys for liking, subscribing, and sharing. All right, this video. All right, hey, because without you guys, there is no us out here weekly with the crushing it. All right, dropping these jewels. All right, like a bank robber or whatever. All right, so we greatly appreciate you all for joining us yet again. And as I always say every week, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player, and don't let anybody get you off your pivot. All right, including the Indiana Hoosiers, because Dogon SS is still a Cane for life. It's always and always forever will be about the youth. So go Canes, and we'll get them next year. But we'll see you guys next week, because I still got more rings of Robert Ory.
That's right, man. It's on to the NFL playoffs. I don't have a dog in this race, so I'm rooting for the Rams by proxy. I want to see Devontae get one, so I'm rooting for the Rams because I like their team. I like Stafford. I like Puka. But I really want to see Devontae get one. And my dog Jared Verse from Florida State is on the Rams too.
Yeah,
so.
Fisk is out there.
Yeah. So it's Team Rams for the rest of this year's playoffs. But yeah, y'all, we out. We will see you next time. Check out the rest of the content library for more videos, more fire stuff, and we'll see you later. Peace.
Peace. Hey, man, go Canes, man. I don't care what y'all talking about. Go Canes, baby. Chill.